How many private clients do you consider to be your max, and how do you set your pricing? We'll be talking about that and a whole lot more today on the show. Our first episode, by the way, that is actually going to be published both to a YouTube channel and also on iTunes, in addition to live streaming right here, right now in our Facebook group, healthcoachpowercommunity.com. So if we haven't met before, my name is Michelle Fennickhouse. I'm a nutrition coach, a graduate of the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and if you went to IIN, you may have seen me in the videos there because I am part of the curriculum where I teach about social media and marketing. I've been running these Q&A sessions here in our Facebook group for about 6 months now, maybe closer to 9 months. And so here's how it works in case you haven't been around this whole time. Every week, our 4,000 some members ask questions, pose their situations with their health coaching clients, whatever it is, reach out for support. And every week I hold this live 30-minute session to personally answer as many of those questions as I can. In fact, for those of you with me, as I am recording this right now live, please put your questions into the comment area and I will get to those shortly. So here we go. Our first question, as I alluded to just a moment ago, is from Cassie, and she asks, I'm curious how many one-on-one clients people consider to be their max. Also, how do you set your pricing for these clients? Lastly, would you say you have a larger income from the one-on-one clients or those purchasing programs or e-courses? So that's kind of a three-part question from Cassie, but I think a lot of people are going to be curious about this, so I definitely wanted to cover it today. And I'm going to start with your last question, Cassie, about would you have a larger income from one-on-one clients or purchasing e-courses? I would say certainly there is potential to earn much, much more with some type of online course or any offering where it's one-to-many versus one-to-one. Because with one-to-one, unless you start charging very, very high rates, and some coaches do that, there's just a limit to how much one-on-one coaching you can do in the day, even if you saw clients back-to-back from dawn till dusk, or even way past dusk, right? So there is more earning potential in the one-to-many model. Personally, I see about an even split between my income coming from I should really say it's a three-way split. About a third of my income comes from private coaching, a third of my income comes from online courses, and a third comes through affiliate marketing. And it has been about the same for many years now, even as I've made more money in one area, and that ratio has remained about the same. So I can share that from my own experience. Other coaches will have a different experience of how their money breaks down. But going to your question about how many one-on-one clients people consider to be their max, I find that really interesting and a really important question, because when I started coaching 10 years ago, I would have a roster of clients. That was my main, full roster of clients, and this was the main way I was making money. And I would sit there at my desk and just do boom, 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 client session all day long, every day, if I was lucky. And by lucky, I mean I was getting really sick of doing that. It takes a lot of energy to be one-on-one with somebody. And some of you are going to love it, or you do love it. You get energized by doing your one-on-one coaching. And some of you, perhaps who are more introverted, like I happen to be, it can be draining after a while. So, one session a day, 2 sessions a day, it feels pretty good. Then 3, 4, 5, you start feeling like, this is enough. So, my max these days is about 5 to 10 private clients at a time. 10 would be total maximum for me. Whereas if you really wanted to make a full-time salary from private coaching, if you've done the math, you will quickly realize you need to have more than 10 private clients at a time. And then for other people, of course, if you're in a different situation, maybe you have another job or you have, big time family commitments or something. I have no coaches. I was just talking to a coach today who said she only wants 2 or 3 clients at a time. So it's a deeply personal question, and it has a lot to do with your personality and also your life circumstances. What was the last part of your question, Cassie? Oh, how do you set pricing for these clients? No one ever wants to talk about pricing because it's almost an impossible question to answer the way you want me to answer it, right? You want me to tell you, charge $200 an hour. So generally the way I like to think about pricing when you're starting out is to think about other professionals in your area of the world, right? People who live in New York City, or everything's more expensive there. If you live in the middle of Iowa, it will be different. So think about professionals in your area like yoga teachers, massage therapists, anybody that people are paying out of pocket for in the holistic health world, and notice how much it costs to spend an hour of one-on-one time with that person. So if you got a private yoga lesson, what's that going to run you? And the reason those are good comparisons to make is because a yoga teacher gets approximately the same amount of training as a health coach. It's not like, we have a PhD and they just did a 200-hour training. So roughly equivalent, of what our time might be worth. I'm thinking most coaches are going to be charging between $100 and $200 an hour. Now, that's not how you should always price yourself, because there's lots of ways to add value. As you start having a full roster of clients, you can certainly raise your rates. But I feel as a starting point to look at an hourly rate can be really helpful. So, Cassie, I hope that answered your question, and we are going to move on. By the way, if you're here with me live, please do put your questions into the comments, and I will get to those in just a moment. Tell me what's been going on in your business and what you're struggling with, and that's what I'm here for, baby. All right, next question. Also comes from somebody named Cassie, but a different Cassie, starts with a K. And this Cassie is asking, has anyone had any requests for a meal planning workshop? If so, how would you go about setting a workshop up for this? I have some requests for tips on prepping for healthy meals, but some of them really don't like cooking. So you have a bunch of people who want to do a workshop about meal planning, but they don't like to cook. Okay, I got it. I don't know what type of group this is, Cassie, so I'll just answer in general terms. I think a meal planning workshop is a really cool idea. It's interactive, so it could be a lot more fun than holding a workshop about, sugar or something where you are giving information. Meal planning inherently will give them an activity to do. So depending how you're holding this workshop, let's say you're in person, you could literally bring stacks of cookbooks, off your shelf, and paper and pens, and then guide people through the process of creating a meal plan. Now, with a lot of people, that's probably going to get tricky, and it might be very time consuming for people to kind of flip through all the cookbooks and find recipes that they want. So one thing I was thinking about, and I don't know if you're familiar with this service, Cassie, but I'm going to put a link into the comments, is a service called That Clean Life. And That Clean Life is a meal planning service. It exists online. It's all healthy, real whole foods, so everything that you would probably want to share with your clients anyway. And the way that I think you could use it for a meal planning workshop is to print out their recipes, instead of bringing cookbooks, print out a bunch of recipes and make copies, and then have people kind of mix and match them and write out a meal plan for themselves. What you can actually then go do is go on to That Clean Life, formally create the meal plan for them based on what they scribbled out for you. It will include all of the recipes and shopping lists to go with everything. And then you could email them that packet afterwards of everything they would need. That thought just came to mind because I thought, how could you make it more valuable? If you do a free meal planning workshop or a $20 meal planning workshop, how could you increase the value of that? Maybe you do it for $50 and everybody gets their completed meal plan delivered to them along with a free consultation with you or something like that. So I am finding these meal plans from That Clean Life to be quite an added value for all different types of purposes within a health coaching business. So that was the idea that came to mind for me, Cassie. But I think it could be a really good idea. And no matter if you're bringing cookbooks or printouts of recipes or however you go about it, just make sure you also have a list of no cook meals, because I think we all need those. We all need the bring home the rotisserie chicken from the grocery store dinner, and scrambled eggs, And whenever I talk to my clients about meal planning, I try to make it very clear that we don't live on Pinterest, even those of us in the health and wellness world. We're in real life, which means that sometimes dinner has to be something super duper simple, yogurt. And it's okay to do that. Not everything has to be these beautiful Pinterest-friendly meals. So anyway, Cassie, good luck with that, and I'd love to hear how it goes for you. All right, next question. This one comes from Stephanie, and Stephanie says, I'm trying to figure out my niche. I'm really and I always say niche, by the way. Some people say niche, I say niche. I'm really intrigued by working with online entrepreneurs such as business coaches, women in MLM, etc. Do any of you specialize in this? And if so, what is your experience? Stephanie, I have not ever specialized in working with I guess I have specialized in working with other entrepreneurs, but more of in a mentorship capacity, not so much as a health coach. There is a lot of overlap there, I'll be honest. What I wanted to say about this is that for everybody trying to decide on a target market, which is an incredibly useful marketing tool, the most important question that you can ask about the group that you're thinking about targeting is, are they ready, are they willing, and are they able? So, for example, a population who doesn't have a lot of disposable income isn't able to hire you as a health coach, and that should kind of just kick them right out of the running. But in this case, if you're talking to business coaches and women who kind of have their own businesses, MLM, whatever, I think that two things. I think, first of all, they're able because they're working. Yes? And entrepreneurs, as many of you may have found out by now, tend to really overwork and do the entrepreneur diet, which is whatever they can shovel in their mouth in front of the computer, which they're on for about 12 hours a day. So it's a group that really has a need, across industries, whether they're, in coaching or they're anything where it's like a solopreneur type business. These people tend to work themselves to the bone. Health coaches included, by the way. So I think they may be ready, willing, and able. And most of all, when you said business coaches, Stephanie, I thought to myself, everyone asks, like, what's the deal? Actually, we talked about this recently. What's the deal with coaches coaching coaches, or like coaches being coached to coach coaches? And it seems really silly. But the truth is, and what I found with my own business, is that coaches are the ones who very often understand the value of coaching. Therefore, they will seek it out, they will pay for it, and they will be excellent clients because they understand that value. Whereas Joe Schmo off the street, you may have to really introduce them to the notion of coaching, and they may be a lot more resistant to sign up with you in the first place, or even once they've signed up with you, they may be a more difficult client. So I think there's a real reason why a lot of coaches start coaching other coaches. It is a phenomenon that makes a lot of sense. And all in all, I think what you're going after here is a great idea. So please do let me know how it goes, Stephanie. All right, what other questions do we have here? Jennifer's asking, I've had success putting my autoimmune symptoms into remission with a mixture of autoimmune paleo and walls. I don't even know what that is, Jennifer. Walls. Okay. I have people who come to me mostly by word of mouth and want to work together but don't want to sign up for coaching. They just want to chat about my experience. How do I get people to sign up so I can help them be successful in making changes for autoimmune? All right, so Jennifer, you're experiencing the can I pick your brain thing that all coaches hate. In fact, I would say, any health professional really can't stand that. So, that whole can we just go to coffee and can I pick your brain? No, the answer is always no. But we could set up a consultation or whatever you call your discovery call, or whatever you do with your clients. And the important thing during those conversations is they're going to keep asking you very specific questions. They're going to be like, so Jennifer, can I eat corn? And you're going to be like, so I understand that you have a lot of questions about food sensitivities, and that's one of the things I work on with my clients. What other foods are you curious about? Something like that. Turn the question back around on them so that the conversation stays about them, and then you can move into telling them how they might work with you to get answers to their specific questions, which obviously you cannot really advise them on right now because you haven't done a deep dive into their health history. So it's sort of a delicate dance between harnessing their enthusiasm but shaping it and molding it the way that you need it to go in order to turn these people into clients and not just be wasting your time. Because if they have no intention of working on you, or if it's not a big enough problem that they're willing to pay someone to help them work on this problem, yes, they're just wasting your time. And if you're not going to be giving them all the answers they want, you're wasting their time. So one thing you might do is have a set of, I guess I can use the word hurdles, but one thing that coaches sometimes do is force people to go through a series of steps before you will talk to them. Like, don't get on the phone with just anybody. Even if that person is like, your sister-in-law, don't go directly to the phone call. Make them jump through some hoops. So maybe if someone has a question, you can direct them to a video that you have that answers a lot of common questions or something. And from there, direct them to fill out an application if they want to speak with you directly. And then the application should be pretty lengthy, so it deters people who are just not really that interested. And for people who do take the time to fill it all out, then you can decide, you can select from those who apply who you're going to get on the phone with. So that's just another technique for making sure that your time doesn't get wasted. I hope that's helpful, Jennifer. Okay, here's a question from Sharon. She says, "Hi, Michelle. Suggestions for delivering a worksheet that accompanies my Facebook Live series starting on Thursday. My Facebook business page is not a group and does not seem to have a files tab. The sign-up lead page already has a 1-week meal plan download as a freebie." Okay, I'm not sure if I'm understanding all of that, Sharon, but when you're doing a Facebook Live, if you have a worksheet that you want everybody to have, they don't need to opt in for it, then you just need to provide a link to it, and you could host it with Dropbox, for example, or like any cloud server that's going to give you a public link. That's how I do a lot of my downloads. I host them on Dropbox and get the public link to that file, and that's the link that I share. Or you could host it somewhere else on your own website server or something like that. You just need a direct link to the file. And then I would put that link into the description that goes with your Facebook video, and I would also put it into the comments so that as you're speaking, you can say, like, download the worksheet. But I would think that if you're going through the trouble of doing a Facebook Live series, you want to collect as many email addresses as you can. Therefore, and it sounds like there is a sign-up page. There is already a sign-up page where they get a 1-week meal plan. I would just include the worksheet there. So I would say, if you want the worksheet that goes with this Facebook Live, or if you want the meal plan that I'm providing to you, just go ahead and give them the URL for that and make it all come bundled together. But I guess it depends what that worksheet is all about, whether it's something that makes sense to include as part of the initial opt-in. But I usually, when I do a Facebook Live like this, I have one page where people sign up, and I continue to drive people to that page even during the live event itself, and afterwards they can keep going, and even though the event is past, that's where they can go opt in and then immediately get the download or get whatever is supposed to be accompanying that Facebook Live. So if you have a lead page, then you would just use the URL for that lead page. And again, put it in your Facebook description that goes next to the video, and again in the comments. Also, you get a lot of people asking questions. They won't hear you say, like, oh, click the link to download the worksheet. So you'll get people asking questions down the line that are like, where do I get this worksheet, even though you already said it 3 times? So that's fine. After your live broadcast, you could just go back in and comment to all of them, reply with the URL, just so that everybody sees it more and you're more likely to get people opting in. Okay, excellent. All right, I still have about 10 minutes to go. If you guys have any other questions, go ahead and put them in the comment area for those of you who are here live. I wanted to answer another question that came into the group over the past week. I thought this was a pretty interesting one. It was from Martina, and she said, "Has anyone worked with women who have alcohol problems? Not addicted, but I have 2 clients who can't control how much they drink when they go out on the weekend." And to that, I wanted to say, Martina, it sounds like your clients have an alcohol addiction. And I think that the sad truth is that a lot of women do. We think, oh, well, they're not addicts. It's not like they have to go to, AA, or that they're destroying their lives. But like she kind of went on to talk about how they spend all this money on booze on the weekends and then they don't have money for food or other things. And I'm thinking to myself, kind of sounds like addiction to me, Martina. So I really wouldn't hesitate to tap on that. It definitely goes a bit out of scope for a health coach, but suggest some things that they might look into to get a handle on their alcohol. Everybody deserves to enjoy a drink now and then, but if it's to the point that it's affecting other areas of their life, number one, you may straight up suggest something like AA. Or, I don't know the whole situation here, but there's been some really excellent articles around the internet lately. Gosh, I wish I could remember where to find one of them, or if I can remember, I will post it in the comments later. There's this amazing article that just talks about why do women drink, and it goes everything from the way that our culture has our lives set up, where we kind of have to be working and full-time caretakers of the children and the aging parents, and everything is expected of us. So like, of course we drink to relieve that stress kind of thing. So it talks about that, talks about feminist issues, when your boss is eyeing your breasts as you walk down the hallway, of course we go home and have a drink. Like is a really, kind of a sharp-witted article, but I remember sharing it with a bunch of my clients and my audience, and people were like, wow, alcohol really is being used in ways that we don't realize. We just think it's so fun. But like wine culture is huge. You walk into any Home Goods or like Marshalls or anywhere, and you'll find like a clock that says wine o'clock, or, like wine themed stuff. It's just really interesting. And I think it's a topic that if you're brave, you will confront your clients about, like in a really loving, open way. Just open the door for that conversation. Like, why are they drinking that much? Because I think that might be the most important conversation that you could have with them. Oh, Sharon is commenting here that Dr. Sarah Gottfried, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, calls this a sticky relationship with alcohol. Yes, that's a good term for it. And I think a lot of our clients are in that sticky situation. So, hey, that's an opportunity. That's a really big opportunity to make a really big difference. Alrighty, let's see here. I have another question from Corin. She says, hi, fellow coaches. I'm struggling to really keep my business going. I have had a few clients, but nothing has actually stuck, and I've been finding myself considering whether I need to go back and get my master's degree in nutrition. I'm beginning to feel like I don't know enough, or that if I just had a bit more knowledge, I would be a better coach and be able to get my business going successfully. Has anyone found additional education helpful, or has anyone found themselves in the same position? Any advice would be helpful. So, Corinne, I did answer you in the Facebook group, but I think this is such a common question, and like so many people are feeling the same way. I wanted to bring it up again because when we are feeling insecure and we're starting out in a new business and we have this health coach certification, I think it is extremely easy to doubt ourselves. And when we don't see success in our business, to blame it on our lack of credentials, right? Surely, if we were a registered dietitian, we would have more clients. Surely, if we were an MD, we would have, be making all the money in the world, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think there's a duality to this. Do we need to keep learning? Yes. Since I started my business, so much has changed in the landscape of health and nutrition that I most certainly need to keep up with it. And in fact, right now I'm doing a pretty intense functional medicine training with Aviva Romm, if you're familiar with her. And I just want to remind you that is after 10 years in the business I am doing that. Would that have been a good investment in my first or second year of business? I am going to argue no. And here's why. There are so many great coaches out there. I know so many great coaches out there. And by great coaches, I mean people who, when I speak to them, I find myself opening up. I find myself having revelations just in a casual coach-to-coach, friendly, peer-to-peer conversation. So I know when they're turning it on purpose with their clients, they are seeing some fascinating results. And a lot of these coaches have an awful lot of trouble making a living because they don't know how to package that power of theirs and sell it. And at the end of the day, unless you're working for a holistic health center where they're paying you a salary, or a doctor's office where they're paying you a salary and they're doing all the marketing and all the administrative stuff for you, you have to figure this out or you're not going to have a successful business. And it does not matter how much you know or don't know about health and healing. It has everything to do with, it's a marketing problem. to be blunt, you have a marketing problem more than anything else. So what I would suggest is immersing yourself in learning about how to market your entrepreneurial business. Often you'll see it referred to as solopreneur, or for moms out there, often you hear the word mompreneur. And I don't love these terms, but that will hone you in on the type of marketing that you're looking at. Like, a marketing for my business looks very, very different than marketing for, the independently owned shoe store down the block, right? Brick and mortar shoe store. Like, we're both small businesses, but very, very different types of businesses. So that is my advice to you, to learn more and invest in business training, and obviously keep learning. But for now, read books, websites, like, learn, but I wouldn't jump into another training program in order to get your business off the ground. More nutrition training will not do that for you. Alrighty, I think I have time for one more question. Is it going to be a live one? All right, I got one here. Eva is asking, has anyone had any experience with corporate wellness? Topics for workshops, setup, any suggestions or guidance will be helpful. So Eva, I have limited experience with corporate workshops. It's not something I've done a ton of. And of all the coaches that I mentor and have worked with through the years, I don't actually see them doing a ton of corporate stuff either. So there are some health coaches that specialize in this, but I'm just letting you know that by and large, it's not what I see going on. And I think that a lot of the reason is, the reason that it doesn't work, but the reason you can make it work, is that getting into these corporate environments has a lot to do with who you know. So for example, when I started my business, I had been working in advertising. So I knew a ton of people in advertising. I knew the HR person in every ad agency up and down Boylston Street. I lived in Boston at the time. And that was easy for me because I knew the HR person. I could reach out to them. I could say, hey, can I come in and do something at the lunch hour? And they would be like, sure, no problem. So it's all about who you know. If you don't know anybody, you got to ask yourself, how am I going to meet these people? Maybe you have a friend or a spouse or whomever that has a good relationship. The closer you can get to the HR person at any of these corporations, the easier it's going to be. Now, after you've kind of made that connection, the next thing that tends to come up is pricing. Should it be for free, or are they going to pay you? And that can be tricky. So usually my advice is to not mention money unless they ask you. Again, if you're just starting out, it's okay to do these things for free, right? So you want the experience and you want to add to your mailing list more than you want to make a couple $100s. I'm telling you, that's what you want. So if you go in there and you're like, oh, and do this workshop, blah, blah, and they're like, that's great. They will often come back and say, well, what do you charge for something like this? And then you could say, well, what is your budget typically for speakers and guests? And if you're just kind of batting that back and forth and they're never coming down and saying well, we budget $400 for something like this, or we can offer you $250 or $1,000, something like this, it is up to you how you want to pursue the money issue. But I think if you're doing it as a list building effort, just do it for free. Just get it done. Because as soon as there's money involved, now they got to check with their budget. They haven't got the budget approved. It's the end of the year. They have to wait for the next fiscal year for them to have a new budget. Blah, 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 blah. Better to just get in and get it done. All right, probably a lot more to say on that topic, but I hope you found that useful, Eva. And it is 3:30, so we are going to end here, but we'll be back next week doing another Q&A. So I will see you then. Take care, everybody.